Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today, because honestly, we're going to unpack something truly fascinating. We are diving deep into the hidden psychology of desire. Listen, if you have ever stared at a blinking cursor, just waiting in pure agony for a text back, or if you're wondering why simply being nice seems to completely backfire on you, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to break down the mechanics of connection, step by step, using clear, structured concepts that you can actually take and apply right away. Let's get right into it.
It's kind of the ultimate paradox, isn't it? Like, why does giving someone more attention so often end up pushing them further away? We are constantly taught by society that to win someone over, we just need to be endlessly available, extremely attentive, and, constantly reassuring. But what if I told you that being too available is actually a massive trap, a trap that literally destroys attraction?
So, here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the flaw of constant availability. Second, why distance actually deepens desire. Third, the push and pull rhythm. Fourth, how to turn mystery into obsession. And finally, number 5, moving from mere curiosity to true attachment.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the flaw of constant availability.
Okay, so usually our own anxiety drives the standard playbook, right? We over-explain, we fire off instant replies, and we constantly seek reassurance. And look, guys do this because in the moment, it temporarily makes them feel safe. But what actually works is entirely different. It's about stepping back. It's maintaining emotional balance, leaving some empty space, and injecting just a touch of unpredictability. You see, attraction isn't built on constant, boring comfort. It absolutely requires a little bit of uncertainty.
Because of this, we are introducing what we like to call the experiment. And this is all about deliberately hitting the brakes on those behaviors that make you feel artificially safe. You actively stop rushing to reply. You stop over-explaining yourself. And to be super clear, this isn't some manipulative mind game. It's a profound paradigm shift. You are essentially shifting your brain from a mindset of seeking approval to a mindset of grounded, solid patience.
Let's actually look at a real-world example from Delhi to really ground the psychology. We have Rajesh, a successful 45-year-old guy who started dating Pooja, who's 40. Now, initially, Rajesh did exactly what most guys do. He was instantly available, texted back the second his phone buzzed, and tried desperately to fill every single silence. And Pooja liked the attention, sure, but there was no real spark there. The dynamic was just completely flat. So Rajesh decided to try the experiment.
And this brilliantly illustrates the turning point for them. Rajesh literally changed his behavior overnight. He stopped rushing to clear things up. He took his time to reply. He didn't force the conversation just to keep it on life support, and he completely stopped trying to fill every empty space. And the result? The entire dynamic totally flipped. Suddenly, Pooja was the one initiating contact. She was the one wondering what he was thinking. Her curiosity was instantly sparked by that newfound empty space.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 2, why distance deepens desire. Now, the key distinction we need to make here is calculated distance. This is about intentionally creating an empty space that naturally activates the other person's mind and actually triggers a real dopamine response. But, and this is absolutely crucial, you do this without being cold and without using silence as a weapon or a punishment. This kind of healthy distance doesn't come from playing tricks. It comes naturally from you just living a fulfilling, balanced life completely outside of the dating dynamic. I really want to anchor this whole dating concept in something much older and, quite frankly, much wiser. The incredibly powerful Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once noted, "A man does not try to be present everywhere, but stands firmly where he is." Think about that. When you scatter your energy trying to be constantly available to someone, your presence entirely loses its value. But when you stand firmly in your own life, your presence becomes incredibly magnetic. All right, let's move into Section 3, the push and pull rhythm.
Listen, attraction dies in total predictability, but it absolutely thrives in movement. We call this emotional rhythm. It's the natural pacing of giving warmth and true presence, which we call the push, followed by comfortably giving space and returning to your own stable life, which is the pull. It's like breathing. You aren't constantly suffocating them with attention, but you aren't completely vanishing either. You're moving. You're creating a rhythm.
Let's look at the actual mechanics of this in action with a story from Pune about Rohit and Sneha. So at first, Rohit was always pushing. He was always texting, always available. Honestly, it was boring. Then he decided to change his rhythm.
His push became intense. When he was actually with Sneha, he gave her his full attention, deep listening, and genuine warmth. But then came the pull. After their date, he simply returned to his normal life, his goals, and he gave her space. That clear, distinct contrast completely re-energized their connection.
And this brings us to another brilliant insight, this time from the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. True freedom comes when we only focus on the things that are in our control. You really need to remember this. Her feelings, her reactions, and how fast she texts you back, those are entirely out of your control. Trying to force them will only create massive anxiety for you. What is in your control is your balanced reaction, your emotional rhythm, and your own life. That right there is your true strength.
Now for Section 4, turning mystery into obsession.
So, consider the story of Vikram and Nandini. Nandini was the sharp, really perceptive woman who usually figured guys out within, minutes of meeting them. But Vikram did something totally different. He didn't sit down and just spill his entire life story on the first date. He was honest, sure, and he was warm, but he intentionally held back the full narrative. And you know what? That incomplete story completely captured Nandini's imagination. She went home that night and literally could not stop thinking about him.
Here is exactly how this emotional timeline unfolds in the brain. Step 1. You hold back the full story. Step 2. Naturally, the human mind senses that incompleteness. We humans absolutely hate unfinished puzzles. So step 3. Because there is an empty gap, her imagination goes to work trying to fill it in. And finally, step 4. Those repeated, habitual thoughts of her trying to figure you out gradually evolve into a deep, natural obsession. You didn't force her to think about you, you literally just left a blank space for her mind to play in.
The crucial takeaway here is perfectly summarized by Seneca. The man who always tries to explain himself gradually loses his respect. Over-explaining your intentions totally kills the mystery, and ultimately it kills the attraction. Think of Rahul and Priya from our source material. Rahul used to constantly explain his feelings, always seeking to make Priya feel safe and secure. But ironically, it just made her lose interest. It was only when he finally stopped over-explaining everything that the attraction returned.
Which brings us to our final phase, Section 5, curiosity to true attachment.
This timeline of attachment is so vital to understand. On day 1, you break the predictable pattern. By week 1, her curiosity and her dopamine levels are peaking. But week 2 is where the real magic happens. In the empty space you've provided, she begins to self-reflect and actually invest her own emotions. And by week 3 and beyond, a deep, natural attachment forms. Now, what's the trap here? Well, most men completely panic around week 1 or 2 when they see that curiosity peaking, and they try to rush in and force a relationship label on it. You have got to survive that panic phase and just let the attachment grow naturally.
And by the way, this isn't just for new dates. Consider Sanjay and Manjari, who had actually been married for years. Sanjay was constantly hovering, constantly trying to bring warmth back to their marriage, but to Manjari, it just felt like exhausting pressure. When Sanjay finally decided to step back, focused on his own goals, and gave her some emotional space, Manjari suddenly rediscovered the man she married. This emotional rhythm works at absolutely any stage of a relationship.
Let's quickly summarize what we've learned today by looking at the core traits of a truly grounded man. First, he maintains stable emotional energy. He's not riding a roller coaster based on her text messages. He enforces clear boundaries, and he does it without apologizing for them. He doesn't rush out to get reassurance the second things go quiet, and most importantly, he never, ever panics over silence. He understands that silence is just a natural part of the rhythm.
We're going to conclude our narrative arc today right back where we started, with the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. A man's true value is determined by his goals and life purpose. True pursuit, genuine attraction, it doesn't happen when you are desperately chasing a relationship. It happens when you stand firm in a balanced, purposeful life and simply allow others the freedom to naturally step into your world. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, pretty heavy question to think about. Do you have the discipline to control yourself rather than constantly trying to control someone else's feelings? True attraction is never about manipulation. It is entirely about self-mastery. Master your own rhythm, embrace that empty space, and just watch how the dynamic completely transforms. Thank you so much for joining me today, and keep learning.